Thank you.
Why don't we start with the 8 verses? If you would to lead that, I would appreciate it.
Sure. So to help us connect with our Mingjue state, I will read Dr. Pong's 8 verses. Go ahead and feel your sits bones, your feet connecting to the earth, the spine lengthening, and the crown of the head lifting up to the sky. And you can allow the eyes to soften and even close if that feels good. Head touches sky. Feet stand on earth. Body relaxes and the mind expands. Be respectful and quiet. Mind is clear and appearance is humble. No distracting thoughts. Mind expands into infinite space. Feel the mind shining into the body deeply and inwardly. Entire body is harmonized with chi. Harmonized with chi. Harmonized with chi.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Love. This presentation, it's been one of those like it's just been on my mind a lot. And I will say that like when I was growing up and when I was a young person, I did not have any appreciation for rain whatsoever. I really saw that as more of a like a nuisance or something that I always felt like tense, like when I go outside in the rain, I'd like pick my shoulders up and I'd kind of clench up, and that was kind of like just my embodiment of rain, I guess, for like most of my young adult or young life and young adult life. And I was reminded when I was putting this presentation together of this really eccentric professor at my university. He always wore strange clothes, strange hats. Like he had a solar system hat with like big orbs of planets like sticking out around his like almost like a big sombrero or something. And I'd seen him. He'd always ride his bike through campus, and he'd ride it even in the rain. And he didn't look, like most people who are going around like trying to protect themselves from the rain with an umbrella or crunched up or whatever. He's just riding his bike like he would be laughing and singing his bike. This eccentric dude just riding his bike through campus. And now I never had this person as a professor. I think he worked in like the engineering department or something. And I had started in engineering, but I dropped that major quickly and switched to something else. But anyways, it was just such an interesting like contrast, because it's like it wasn't even raining for him, and that image stuck with me. And later in life, I've developed an appreciation for rain, thanks in large part actually to Elizabeth, my wife, because when I met her, she mentioned, early on that she liked rain, and I thought that was just so strange. Like, how could someone like rain? What are you talking about? And so, I like through my relationship with her, I've really come to appreciate rain in all its different aspects. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share some of that good energy and good vibes with you today. So, we usually have a little bit of just like, I don't know, dry, scientific facts about whatever we're sharing when some element of nature, in this case, rain. So, according to science, there are 3 types of rainfall. We have convectional, which is where air is heated, it rises, it cools and condenses, leads to a formation of clouds and eventually precipitation, right? This is very common in tropical and equatorial regions. Then we have orographic, which is what we're familiar with from places like Hawaii and New Zealand. This is a lifting of moist air over elevated terrain, such as a mountainous terrain, like a mountain on an island, for instance, or a volcano. Causes the air to rise and cool very quickly, which wrings the moisture out of the clouds on the windward side of the mountain range. And then we have the frontal or cyclonic uh, form of rain, which is where a warm air mass meets a cold air mass. And this is what we're very familiar with here in the Midwest. We also produces some tornadoes sometimes. Uh, the warm air is lifted over denser, cooler air, and it leads to a rapid cooling and condensation, eventually, precipitation. So this is like how science describes rain or whatever. I had another thought, which is just like types of rain, like as seen on like a spectrum. And I thought we could like almost mimic this spectrum using the technology of our own human bodies. So if you want to experience like a very gentle spring rain, you can like rub your hands together. And that, if we could all hear all of us rubbing our hands together simultaneously, this is probably even better. But it would give you the kind of the effect of that like really gentle kind of spring rain that starts usually here at least, very early in the year, like February, March. And then it usually picks up the pace a little bit. And so if you start snapping your fingers, you can get like that next level of rain, right? And that eventually will turn into like the slap smacking rain where you clap your hands. And then without quitting the clapping, you can then add the stomping of your feet, which I don't know if I can really do in this position or not, but that's the thunderous rain, and at that point, it usually becomes a little bit uncomfortable to be in. So anyway, there's like this spectrum of rain, and I just thought that would be a fun thing for us to do together. Um, I have this video that I took from our property, and I took one in the front yard and the backyard, but I could only get the front yard imported. But this is fine. It has our rose bushes. We recently did roses, which I thought was fun. And we have our rose bushes, which this year is like the first year that our rose bushes have actually been doing this well. They've struggled in the last couple of years with like Japanese beetles and so forth. And for some reason this year they just haven't bothered us. So we got some really beautiful roses. And anyway, let me just play this video. Some rain and across our yard here. Yeah, that's it's one of those just beautiful spring rains. It's super gentle. A little bit of like the, clucking rain, but it hadn't picked up into the clapping or the stomping by this point. And this is like my favorite rain, and I now have an appreciation of rain that I just didn't have when I was younger. And so I was out in this just enjoying it, and getting very wet, but it was not even that cold, like cool, but not cold, and just beautiful and refreshing. And so I just wanted to share that energy with you here tonight. This quote kind of like really captures the essence of what I wanted to present. It's like this idea, some people feel the rain, others just get wet. This is Bob Marley. Um, I definitely used to be someone who just got wet, and like it took me later in life to like try to live in a way that where you like feel the rain. And I think that includes times when the rain is coming down like buckets. Like it's not always comfortable, right? Like sometimes it is like you don't want to be in it. But I think of that professor just like happily riding and singing through the rain. Like, at the time I was very judgmental of him, thinking he was bananas, but now I actually think he might be enlightened. So, anyway, good old Bob Marley. Here's an image of so Elizabeth and I in 2015 we went on a Camino, so we walked across Spain. It was like I think it's 500 or 600 mile walk or something like that. I think it took us like 6 or 7 weeks to finish the whole thing. So we had a rough start, but we had a lot of rainy days. We had a lot of sunny days too, but since we're along the northern coast, there's a lot of different paths you can take across Spain, and we went along what's called the Camino del Norte. And so we're along the coast, which you have, just beautiful, beautiful coastline the whole way. As you're walking, the coast is on your right. There's mountains on your left, generally. Some little villages and things you can stop at to sleep and to refresh yourself. And man, what a great journey that was. And one of the first times, there was definitely some unpleasant rains, but there was also a lot of uh, really, really good rain on this journey. Here's another photo of us. Had to include some of us in our camo ponchos. These like hunter camo ponchos, which got us made fun of heavily by the Europeans who were walking. Because they knew right away we were American, but it's like we already have these. Like I didn't want to like buy a new raincoat, for this journey. But anyway, it's kind of fun. All right, let's see what else. Oh yes, an April rain song. So this is a poem I found by Langston Hughes. Um, Little known poet. Let me read it for you. Let the rain kiss you. Let the rain beat upon your head with silver liquid drops. Let the rain sing you a lullaby. The rain makes still pools on the sidewalk. The rain makes running pools in the gutter. The rain plays a little sleep song on our roof at night, and I love the rain. Now, just some images. I thought we'd just sit with these as we page through just a few images of rain. Some really just beautiful photos that I came across. Different environments and climates. I also wanted to share a few sort of spiritual associations of rain through history across continents and centuries, what rain has symbolized to humanity. So, probably the one that we're really familiar with in the West would be divine mercy and forgiveness, as well as destruction, rebirth, renewal, and fresh beginnings. This is seen in the Great Flood, right? Noah's Ark and so forth in the Bible, but it's also the flood myth is found in almost all cultures around the world, actually. And so the Epic of Gilgamesh from the Mesopotamian cultures, Hindu culture has something called Manu's flood, which is a very similar sort of storyline. The god Vishnu warns Manu of a coming flood, and then Manu builds a boat and survives, repopulating the earth. So it's very similar to Noah's story. And, these stories use rain as a dual symbol. So it's both an instrument of divine judgment and a catalyst for fresh, new, and purified beginning. I also find this story really fascinating because it is now found, like, we find this in so many cultures across the world, and there's actually a lot of, like, mainstream science is now starting to acknowledge that there was a great flood at one point. And originally they thought that it would have been too long ago for there to be really like human sort of recordings or stories of it. But that was before they found some of the sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey and some of the others that are starting to surface now in other parts of the world that appear as though human civilization is at least twice as old as we once thought it was. Okay, so that's a pretty big deal. It's only happened in the last decade or so as some of these things have been unearthed. And so that really changes things for us, and it makes you wonder, like how many of these stories contain elements of truth to them, right? Also, in the Mesoamerican cultures and early North American cultures, rain was seen as a divine gift. It was essential for agriculture. So deities such as, I don't know if I'm going to say these words right, Chak, which is a Mayan deity, and Tlaloc in Aztec culture, these were central to the cosmology. I mean, rituals, dances, sacrifices, these were all performed in order to ensure rainfall and continued fertility. Also, in the African continent, there's many cultures that had what were essentially rainmakers or spiritual leaders who acted as a sort of mediator between the human realm, and the heavens. We also have the idea of emotional catharsis and healing, cleansing, purification coming through the Navajo peoples in the American Southwest. Rain is not just a physical blessing, but a deeply spiritual force. Rain ceremonies are performed to restore balance between humans and nature, reflecting a belief in hozo, or a state of beauty, harmony, and well being. Rain is seen as a release of tension and imbalance, much like tears, so it's invoked in rituals to cleanse the spirit and restore emotional equilibrium. In the I'm not saying I'm saying this right either, but the Yoruba spiritual tradition of West Africa, the Yoruba tradition, there's a goddess Oya who governs storms, winds, sudden change. Now, her reigns are fierce and unpredictable and often arrive with thunder and lightning. Oya's storms symbolize the emotional upheaval necessary for transformation. Her rains wash away old and clear space for the new. She's also associated with cemeteries and the grieving process. I thought this was highly interesting. Her rains are invoked in rituals of mourning, where emotional release is seen as a sacred act that prepares the souls of the dead for eventual rebirth, and that includes wiping away the consciousness, so that it can be born into a new life, and clear. So this clearing of the mind, very, very interesting. Um, and then we have the Polynesians, which I spent a little bit of time on this because it was, I think, one of the most interesting. I got to learn more about the Polynesian culture, man. I've been to Hawaii, and I really liked my time there. I'd love to visit New Zealand as well, but I'll just share a few things that I learned about the Polynesians. Now, for them, rain is linked to ancestral spirits, ancient memory, and of course, divine favor. So they had a deep understanding of what like we would call today the hydrocycle or the water cycle. And they also knew that water had this sort of continuous relationship between the earth and the heavens and back again, right? So, for example, island communities, especially on the dry side of islands, would construct primitive solar stills that would use heat and condensation to turn salt water into fresh water. So, this and other techniques, such as using the sails of their canoes to capture rainwater as well as condensation, were actually essential to survive on the open sea because they would spend weeks, if not months, sailing across the Pacific. In their oral mythology, Sky Father Rangi and Earth Mother Papa had a violent separation which brought light into the world and ultimately all of us. Now, evaporation and condensation as rain is seen as a divine exchange of tears between the heaven and earth, this longing, this missing, and it's a result of the separation. And so, rain symbolizes both grief as well as this sort of ongoing connection between the heaven and the earth. As well, the Polynesians believed that rain was a form of communication from their ancestors, a living memory and a sacred sign of their presence or blessing or emotional expression. It was seen as particularly good omen when rain occurred during significant moments such as birth, death, or other sacred rituals. This was taken as a sign of the ancestors being near and the information or memory of the event being shared with the spirit realm. So in Maori, speech making and song, rain is invoked as a metaphor for the ancestors' embrace or presence. For example, the winds and the rains are often described as caressing the skin of all people and linking the natural world directly to ancestral love and memory. So, wow, that is some deep stuff, man. Let me tell you what. I am just blown away by this just the time that I spent with rain preparing this and some of the things that I was learning. Um, really, really special, and I now look forward to rain. So I wanted to leave us just with this last image. This is something that when I heard this originally back in 2016 when Scott Kelly returned to Earth. Now he was part of a study that NASA did. He and has a twin brother, Mark Kelly. They're both astronauts, but Scott spent a year in space and his brother did not. And so they studied like vitals and stuff on them before and after this journey. And as he came back, he landed on March 2nd, 2016, and a reporter asked him like what the experience had taught him, and like the first thing that came to his head was rain is a miracle. And so I watched an interview on this, and he basically said like when he was asked about this again that well it just occurred to him as he was up there that a lot of like Earth's land surface is actually covered in desert. Like there's a lot of desert out there. This is an image of the Sahara, and it actually the eye of the Sahara is visible there, which is used as a sort of place marker from space, so they can kind of tell where they are above the surface. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of desert on Earth, and there's not always rain. There's not always life-giving rain everywhere, and so that was the first thing that popped into his head, and it's just one of those things that's really stuck with me. Rain is a miracle, and that's where I would leave it for tonight. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing and I'll open the floor if anyone else wants to share anything, add anything to the field. And then we'll probably move into a meditation after that. I'll let Elizabeth lead that though, because that's her wheelhouse.
I'll just share something real quick. I love that presentation, Alex. That was really, really good. And I liked all the pictures. I really liked your little exercise of embodying physically the sounds and the kind of the strength of the rain or the gentleness of it. That was really cool. And I liked the pictures later because I guess after we did that, I could hear the sound of the rain when I saw the pictures. But I'll share real quickly. I had a really cool rain experience in I don't know where I was, maybe that Rocky Mountain National Park, and I had gone camping on a little overnight, maybe a couple overnight nights. Anyway, we were up, in the mountains, and there was this lake, and it was just like in the pictures. It was a very small lake, completely surrounded by mountains. It was like close together. And we were not very far from the lake because we had to walk over there to get water to filter and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's a perfectly sunny day, and all of a sudden we were sitting there and we could feel the wind blowing. We could see the clouds getting ready to come over the mountain that was like, I don't know, like a football field away, maybe 2 football fields away. And into this on this side where just like you were explaining in your 3 types of rain, it was that middle one, that the water comes over the mountain and then dumps. So the cloud came over the mountain, we could see that, and then it was just like sheets of rain coming into the sunshine and just moving very gradually across that lake, course, right on top of us. And it was like, it's like when you spray with a hose, you spray really hard and it's really a big force. And it was just like that. And it was like, you know, just right across us, right across that lake, and the sound of it hitting the lake, the water, was fabulous. And then it just like was gone, just almost, in about 5 minutes. The whole thing was like about 5 minutes long. And it was just awesome. Sun came back out, show was over, but yeah, it made me appreciate the rain a lot more. Anyway, I thought that's what I was thinking of when you were doing all that. I thought, oh, I have a good rain story. But that made me appreciate all the different kinds of rain, all the different levels of rain, which we're having a lot of rain right now in northeastern Oklahoma. And this lake I pass over, if I want to go into the big city of Tulsa, is full of trees and whole trees and there's like rafts of all these tree branches that have fallen into the lake and collected, and boats, I'm sure, can't really go through there because you don't really know what's up underneath there. But birds are out perched on these little, pieces of branches sticking up. And anyway, we had a big fire like 5 or 6, maybe 7 weeks ago, and it really burned a whole lot of the forest around here. And we almost had to evacuate. Some people in this little bitty town did have to evacuate. So it would have been nice if some of this rain, but that's how nature is. It's on their schedule. Anyway, thanks. I loved your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing too. It was wonderful. And yeah, I love Eastern Oklahoma. I've gone hunting there, and it's beautiful. We live in southwestern Missouri, so I'm very close, like a stone's throw from you. So yeah,
Oh, so you probably have the same rain.
yeah, yeah.
Those are great descriptions. Thank you. Yeah, I can feel that rain flowing over the lake.
That's wonderful. Wonderful
Yeah.
image.
Yeah, thank you. Hella to Rhonda.
Hella.
Hella.
I'll share.
Yeah, Gary.
This is something that's, I think, firmly locked forever in my reference framework. When I was a little kid, I'd go to my mother's aunt's old brick farmhouse in Iowa. And I'd sleep up in the upper part of the house, which was not finished, but there was a bed up there. And it had a tin roof on the farmhouse. And every time I think of rain or it rains, I think of the sound of that on the roof. And it's very relaxing to me. And yeah, it's something. And I also appreciated your share, Alex, with the presentation. It brings a lot of thoughts to me. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Gary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hella.
Such a visceral experience sleeping up there as a little one and feeling that presence of rain above you making all of that noise and
Yeah. The sleep song.
the
Yes.
sleep song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The poem. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. Oh, wow.
Wow.
I had a funny rain story. We were at a conference in Florida and we took my grandkids along and we went to Disney World. It hadn't looked like rain that morning, so none of us were ready for it. But we were in, I think, Frontierland or one of the all decorated parks. And except that it was a mystery one. It must have been not just mystery, it must have been kind of adventure fantasy. Because the rain started and within about 2 minutes, and the kids were kind of scared because it started so strong. And people were running, and right away, I think it was, Bobby said, "Oh, we're in the monsoons." And I mean, it was like the monsoons. The wind was so strong and the rain was so strong. So we ended up all laughing and running into the closest little store and buying the cheapest little rain ponchos you could find. So the kids had these little yellow ones and we both had them, and going back out in the rain in our rain ponchos to run around in the monsoons. And it was such a powerful thing because of the setting, it felt safe. And if I had been in a woods, if I'd been someplace alone, I'm not sure I could have felt so safe in that strong and intense and surprising rain. But partly making it safe for the kids and partly just, it felt like we were in a rain fantasy because there would be these big palm trees waving and over here would be some goblet type building. And so it really put, for me, rain into a perspective of awareness of how it is in my life, of how it relates to my emotions or what's going on in me. So I also loved your presentation, Alex, and I think I really like the spiritual meanings and how you did that, really bringing in that from so many places. And I also love the pictures. So thank you.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angie.
Uh,
I love that. I love how the context and who we're with changes the experience as well. Yeah. Yeah. And a rain fantasy. I'm gonna maybe try to have a rain fantasy later with palm trees. Actually, your story reminded me of a rain story with our nephew who's arriving tonight. Just turned
That's right.
16.
This is such a good story.
When he was 7 years old, we were all living in Minneapolis and we were outside for our, daily walk in the evening. And we were coming up a hill heading back home and it downpoured on us. And it
Just
was
out
that
of nowhere.
out of nowhere. And it was that downpour that fills the
Fills the gutters like
fills the
instantly, just
gutters
like
and your
rushing
feet
down the streets.
are
Yeah.
all around them. And it's just, you're drenched. And
Buckets.
we
Yeah.
were all, marching back home, and Theron, our nephew, he was 7 at the time, and he was elated. And he's like going, oh, and he's opening his mouth and he's twirling around and he says, I wish it was my birthday.
It's the only thing that can make it better is like if it was also my birthday, this would be the best.
And whenever there's torrential like downpours out of nowhere, I just think, wow, if only it was also a birthday of ours, Yeah. So yeah, your story reminded me of that, Angie. Thank you. And that he's gonna be here tonight. So
Yep. Yep.
I've got his energy here with us, and he just turned 16, so he's a lot bigger now. Yeah. So thank you. Are there any other?
I'll just chime in. Masterful presentation, Alex. What a gift.
Thanks.
I won't elaborate, but thank you. A couple things. So the first peoples that live where I am from, California, also have a flood story, which I think is interesting. And the second thing I wanted to say is that Stephanie really taught me that when random rain comes, that really is, she called it the moon eye, the love flowing. And ever since you taught me that, Steph, I see it everywhere. These little moments of blessings when there's just a little bit of rain, and it's always accompanied by a big synchronicity. So love, yeah, love that spiritual part you brought in. I also am someone who finds total catharsis by getting caught in a torrential downpour. It just strips away all propriety. Your plans are shot, everything's done. It takes all the patterns, all the schedule, everything leaves your life because you are now totally soaked. And there's a certain freedom that comes with that. And I love reveling in that. The last time it happened was the summer, 2 summers ago, when my family spent the summer in Germany, and we were hiking down from the top of a mountain, and we got caught in this insane thunderstorm. And yeah, there was a little bit of, worrying about thunder hitting a tree near us or something. I mean, it was pretty close, but we were so soaked, the kids were so soaked, and we had, teenagers, they had been having arguments, and, we'd been traveling together for a couple months, and there was some grumpiness, and everyone's mood was just stupid happy coming out of that thunderstorm. I was looking at photos actually of us a couple days ago, just completely soaked and full of bliss. So, yeah, rain is such a blessing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That's a great example of the rain bringing that catharsis that you mentioned and the transformation. It's like all of the moods are reborn. Everything is stripped, and it's like, and the joy that can follow. Yeah, it's really powerful. Yeah, thank you. Hello, Megan, and Megan's family. Is there anything else about rain that wants to come forward, or anything that wants to be brought into this beautiful healing field?
Kai's interjecting herself here. Her dog is like, give me some pets, please.
I would like to bring into the field the people in Los Angeles and the turbulence and chaos and all of that we're feeling in so many places and directions in our country, but especially for the people who are so directly caught within that, and just bring them all into the field with us.
Absolutely. And into all of the blessings of rain. Yeah, thank you, Angie.
Yep.
Hello.
Hold on.
And Suan, I saw your, Suan.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a really magical moment. I was at a music people workshop, the first one I had ever been to, which was all about improvising, and I was always terrified, and my roommate was too, because we were both classical musicians who only read music. And one day it was pouring rain, and we decided we'd put on our bathing suits and a shower cap and go out and dance around in the rain and improvise on the song Singing in the Rain. And we did that. And neither of us will ever forget those moments. And there were so many people who ended up joining us because it was just so much fun to jump in the puddles, and there were stairs, and we jumped down the stairs, slapping in the water, and had a little rhythm going on that. And then we were, just all improvising whatever we were singing. It was like a bunch of kids having a great time out in the puddles. And as fully grown adults, and we weren't. We were really kids again. And our leader wrote a book called Return to Child. So we actually fulfilled the mission that he had for all of us in those moments. So anyhow, I just wanted to share the joyfulness of playing in the rain and having a great time.
That's excellent.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I love that song too. Singing in the Rain. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
It's a beautiful story. Thank you, Suwon. Yeah, and it brings us that, yeah, the playfulness and that abandon, like jumping in the puddles and making messes and getting not just wet from rain, but muddy sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, thank you. Yeah, remembering that spirit of wonder and letting go. And like Megan mentioned earlier, just letting go of all propriety. Singing, being loud, making a mess.
Yeah.
Just all of it. In group, in connection, in community. Yeah, thank you.
Since you mentioned singing in the rain, that reminds me of another song from a movie from Bambi. There's this great song, "Drip Drip Drop Little April Showers." Dun, dun. Anyway, that popped in my head. I think about that often when it's raining in the springtime. Anyway, yeah, and singing in the rain too. Yeah,
Thank you for that presentation. I have a lot of wonderful memories about in the rain, but the one that's coming to me right now is being in New Orleans for the Jazz Fest and it's starting to pour. And the stages that were covered, the musicians kept playing. So we just found trash bags from trash cans that didn't have trash in them and put them over ourselves and we're dancing and dancing in the mud because if you've ever been to New Orleans, the Jazz Fest was in the at the racetrack, so it gets really muddy. And then the next day, going back, being prepared with our trash bags and dancing in deep mud and just getting really muddy and having fun. And along with that, I wanted to add some people to the field. Buck and Bill and Kristen, and also our nation's capital, because there's a lot of stress about the upcoming parade and all the things that are involved with that, and just putting peace and love and joy and gratitude out around the whole world.
The beautiful intention. We can bring that in, sending peace and joy and letting go of convention, donning trash bags and dancing in the mud. Just having fun, singing in the rain. Thank you, Steph.
yeah. Cleansing, catharsis, release. Yeah,
Laughter.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And holding all of it, like letting it all be present and letting it all receive whatever it needs to receive from this loving field.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I wanted to share.
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
I remember first of all, I love the rain. It feels so good. And it's just, I don't know, I just always enjoy it. But this is one of the experiences we had many years ago. We went camping with our daughter and son-in-law, and it rained for 3 days the whole time that we were there. But we played Uno and we just had a lot of fun. And finally, after 3 days, when we knew it wasn't going to stop, and we were all soaked, and our tents were soaked, and everything was soaked, we had to leave. But it was still a lot of fun.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Man, I haven't played Uno in years. I love that game. Good.
Yeah, we just did that nonstop for 3 days. Finally decided we had to leave because we were all so wet. But I just love the rain. It feels great. And I wanted to thank Angie and Steph for what they said, because I share the feelings of everything that the planet's going through right now. We need lots of love.
Thank you, Karen. And that joy of 3 days in the rain playing Uno with loved ones, we'll bring that into the field with this love that's spreading out into all areas of conflict and challenge. Yeah, I'm just holding it all in love and this shared collective field. And all of these stories of joy, allowing that to radiate Radiate out. How low. Well, with all of these beautiful shares, I feel like our field is ready to join together for our formal meditation. And we will begin it with this intention of sending love, especially to areas that we know right now are experiencing challenge. And we bring that intention of peace, love, and compassion. And we can even feel in our bodies the joy of remembering these stories about rain, listening to other people's shares, and we can allow that to sink in. In Teacher Way's teaching this last week, he encouraged us to allow the Mingjue mantra to really be felt in our bodies, to have that embodied, lived experience of it so it can sink deeper into our subconscious. And we can bring these intentions of love and peace and joy and playfulness. And he added Mingjue acceptance this last module, and we can bring that in as well. Acceptance of the rain and however we react, as well as anything that's happening. So we have this cradle of love, this field of love, and we can embody it as we find our comfortable posture. And rooting to the earth, feeling the sits bones and the feet. And taking a few deep breaths as the spine lengthens and the crown of the head lifts up. And you may choose to stay seated, stand, or lay down, whatever feels good and the most accessible right now. And as you breathe and find your comfortable, aligned posture, just feel this intention for love, for peace. Feel it sinking into the body, into all of the spaces. And as we go through our meditation tonight, this intention of love that we are holding in our bodies, we can allow it to open and expand as we merge with the universe. Our intention can merge out in our bodies and out, no boundaries, just allowing that love to merge and transform. So we bring that with us this evening. And the awareness flows into the center of the head. Mingjue observes the Shenji Palace, allowing this peacefulness and love to flow into it. You can make the sound loudly. If your thoughts are vast or you're feeling a lot, just allow that sound to bring Mingjue peace right into the center of the head. You can also make the sound softly or even silently. And that Mingjue observation can flow from the center of the head into the sense organs, bringing peace and love to the eyes, and the nose, and the mouth, feeling the jaw relax, and the ears, allowing the inner ears to soften. The inner space of the center of the head, The sense organs, all the spaces in the head, relaxes and opens. Feeling that peace and love flowing, merging with the universe. Shoo. And inviting Mingjue, that peaceful awareness, to flow into the throat. Noticing any tension in the throat. And inviting that peace and love. The inner space of the throat softens and opens as it merges with universe chi, allowing love and peace to flow. Shoo. Mingjue moves into the shoulders, again observing if there's any tension, maybe rolling the shoulders, taking a few deep breaths to invite them to drop a little. And that observation moves into the arms, the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, the hands, palms and fingers. All relaxing and inviting the arms and shoulders to connect in with Mingjue love. The inner space of the shoulders, the arms, and the hands opens and softens into universe chi, merging with the unconditional love of the universe. Shoo. And our Mingjue peaceful awareness flows into the chest inner space, the middle dantian, observing our lungs and the gentle rise and fall of the breath. As we breathe in this Mingjue love and Mingjue peace, we breathe it into our bodies and we release it to our communities, to our nation, and to the world. We observe our precious hearts. Perhaps we can see their gentle rhythm, feel their gentle rhythm. And we know our baby heart connects to all the baby hearts in the collective consciousness field. And we connect in compassion and presence. And we observe the entire chest inner space, all of the cells, all the tissues, our lungs and heart, all opening with the unconditional love of the universe. Shoo. Mingjue moves in to the abdomen, where we observe the liver, the gallbladder, the spleen, the pancreas, and the intestines, our stomach, the kidneys, adrenals, and the reproductive organs. We gaze upon the harmony of all of our organs working together. And we allow that harmony to radiate amidst all of the cells, all of the organs' functions, and into the universe, merging with the unconditional love. Shoo. And Mingjue observes the spine, strong and supple, and the central nervous system, healthy and balanced, harmonious. In the inner space of the spine, the whole spine, the inner space of the entire central nervous system merges with the unconditional love of the universe. And Mingjue observes the hips, the legs, thighs, knees, calves, ankles, and feet, rooted, connecting with the earth, grounded as beings of earth and heaven. The inner space of the hips, the legs and the feet open and merge with the universe, merging with that resonance of love. And Mingjue observes the chi body, the entire chi body. And in this entirety, we are connected to our teachers, Dr. Pong, Teacher Wei, all teachers and wise ones through the ages, all healers and all baby hearts, as we connect through this collective consciousness field and through all healing fields. And together in this entirety, We are Mingjue love. We are Mingjue peace. We are Mingjue joy. We are Mingjue acceptance. And we are Mingjue gratitude. And we feel this mantra opening and merging with universe chi, with all of our baby hearts. Shu. Shu. We invite the song of this mantra of our intentions for love and peace to flow and radiate and transform. Just as rain brings all of those beautiful qualities to the earth and to our lives. And you can check in and stay in this formal meditation as long as you'd like. Or if you're ready, just wiggle the toes and the fingers. Feeling this embodied experience of our time here together. And stack the hands palm over palm at the navel. Taking a few deep breaths, inviting integration. And knowing that these intentions will continue on, unfolding beyond time and space, influencing exactly what's ready, what wants to be influenced and felt. We give our deepest gratitude. Thank you. And Haola. Haola. When you're ready, you can open your eyes if that feels good. Thank you, everyone. I so appreciate all of your sharing tonight. It will help me with my experiences of rain and just holding everything. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. I'd like to dedicate and sing a little song from you. It's actually from Snatam Kaur. It opens one of her Sikh songs. It goes like this. The rain is falling down like all the souls you send here, coming to this earth to find healing. And we're coming home, and we're coming home, and we're coming home, and we're coming home. We all come home to our baby hearts, to our true selves. Stop fighting and hurting each other and be with each other in this loving rain.
Thank you, Simone.
So, thank you. Oh, wow.
Thank you. It's so inspiring. Your presentation was so beautiful.